Hello, everyone. You've joined Intellective's Enhance the nCino Experience with Unity webinar. A few minutes past 1. I still see a few people joining, so we'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll kick things off. Hold tight. Thanks for your time. Okay, I think we'll get started. My name is Mike Rooney. I'm the CRO of Intellective. And again, you've joined the webinar, Enhance the nCino Experience with Unity. Appreciate your time. If you do have questions, you can put them in the Q&A section, and we'll most likely be answering them at the end, or all of them at the end. And with that, I will be joined today by Rich Levins. He's our Senior Sales Architect. He's going to do the lion's share of the presentation and demonstration. And we're going to focus on particular challenges that we've consistently seen across the, probably 100 or so nCino clients we've talked to over the past couple of years. So as I said, we've partnered with nCino over the past couple of years. Our main product is Unity. It's an integration platform for ECM and BPM. And a specific flavor that we built is Unity for nCino, which is built in the Salesforce Lightning environment. Just a little bit about Intellective specifically. I know actually looking at some of the names, we met a bunch of you at nSite. It was a great show. But Intellective does a lot more than just nCino work. We're about 150 technologists based around the world, 5 different countries. And we focus on ECM and BPM implementations, integrations, and migrations. And around that, again, we have a proprietary integration framework that we call Unity, as well as a migration toolkit that we call Interchange. Today's discussion is going to be specifically about Unity for nCino. Just to give you a flavor of some of the financial institutions that we've worked with big and small. We've certainly done some specific work with nCino, but other things like insurance, claims processing, case management, systems integration, all sorts of different things. So again, the core of our solutions is Unity and Unity for nCino in this case. And what Unity allows you to do is integrate multiple repositories. So it could be a single repository. Maybe you have FileNet, or maybe you have SharePoint, or it could be multiple repositories, SharePoint, OpenText, and Box. And we can do a federated search across those and serve up all the appropriate information, and in this case, into nCino. We also integrate with the likes of Dynamics and Power Apps and other line of business applications. But with nCino, we've built a specific archive capability so that documents can be swept out of Salesforce and into your chosen repository, and then retrieved from there, searched and retrieved from there. Rich is going to go into a lot more detail about that. With that, I will hand it off to Rich. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A, or I think the invite told you could send it to a particular email and we'll get back to you. Rich?
Okay, thanks, Mike. So here's the agenda we're going to cover in the webinar today. We're going to start with top left, go over with an overview of Unity for nCino, show you some things that are happening behind the scenes in the demonstration we'll show you later. We're also going to talk about seamless access to ECM documents directly from nCino's DocMan. Then we're going to move on and talk about searching and providing that 360-degree view access of content anywhere in Salesforce or other applications. We're going to then go and talk about the Unity for nCino Advanced Document Viewer. And then we're going to go into a demonstration, and then we'll wrap up with some roadmap items based on the challenges that Mike was talking about earlier. So that said, we're going to go into the overview of Unity for nCino. So here you see on the left side, we have nCino and Salesforce. On the right side, we have different ECMs, and Unity for nCino sits in the middle. And what Unity for nCino is doing is acting as the integration layer between the two. And when we talked to nCino before we became a tech partner, is we said, we already have this Unity product. We already have connections to all these different ECMs. We can act as your gateway to integrate nCino with whatever ECM your customer might be using. And they love that messaging. They indicated to us that, currently they create these custom one-off integrations every time they do a new installation, and having a productized approach that can be configurable made a lot of sense to them. So we're working with an ECM, an nCino component called the ECM offloader, and that will run and take content that is in a certain stage of the loan, such as the book stage, and we'll call out to our integration. And what we'll do is we'll migrate the content out of nCino and Salesforce, bring them into the ECMs. Every ECM will generate a unique identifier, what I call here a doc ID, and then we'll take those doc IDs and move them back into nCino and associate the placeholders with these doc IDs so the users continually have access to the content directly from nCino. So here's a kind of a picture of what this looks like. Overview. On the left side here, we have a screen print of DocMan. We have a number of placeholders. And again, Unity for nCino is acting as nCino's gateway to multiple ECMs. When that offloader runs, it calls our integration. We take the content, we load it into the ECMs, returns the doc IDs, and now each placeholder is associated with a document ID. What this does is it supports seamless access to documents directly from DocMan. So the challenges that our customers have told us about was they really want to migrate the documents out of nCino and Salesforce and put it in the ECMs, but they need to continually to have access to that content directly from nCino and DocMan. Many of the customers we spoke to at Insight said, hey, we're using cold storage, but it doesn't give us that access to nCino. We can back up the content, but we can't access those documents directly from nCino, for nCino does. In addition to that, so here's an example. User selects a document. We'll take that doc ID. It'll call our Unity for nCino integration, grab the document, we'll return it, and then we'll display the document to the end user. And we'll demonstrate this in real time in just a few minutes. 360-degree access of all content anywhere in nCino, Salesforce, or other applications. I recently came across this post in LinkedIn that had a link back to the nCino webpage in the newsroom, where they talked about key takeaways from the nCino's community and regional executive forum. And the one thing that the first thing that they highlighted was that the customer experience is number one. And I pulled this quote from there that says, one thing all attendees could agree on is a 360-degree view of the customer is key in fostering strong relationships. So we're going to show you how Unity for nCino supports that 360-degree view. Again, the challenge is the customers need that 360-degree view of the customer, and they need it not just for nCino content, but all of their content. They also want to be able to search across DocMan. So currently, if you want to see documents for a loan, you got to navigate to the loan DocMan. You want to see relationships, you got to go to the relationship DocMan, collateral DocMan. We search across all of that in one shot. We also need the ability to search for related content anywhere from any nCino or Salesforce user interface. So that's an important point. What we're going to show you today, it can be placed on anywhere in Salesforce or nCino. So before the the loan will get started. It will become a prospect in Salesforce. You can put your searching on that screen. You can put it on the contact screen. You can put it on the relationship screen, the loan screen, collateral screen. You can access the content from anywhere. And again, it's not just the nCino content. It could be all content. We actually have a customer that uses different ECMs. So they use IBM FileNet for loan content. They use Synergy for signature cards. They use CMOD for statements, and they also have Box and SharePoint. Just to pull back the slide that Mike showed earlier is Unity provides a single search capability to find customer information stored anywhere from anywhere. And then lastly, before we jump into the demo, we're just going to talk about the Unity for nCino Advanced Document Viewer. So the challenges customers have told us about is they're asking for an enhanced user experience. nCino does have a viewer, but it is somewhat limited in its capabilities of viewing, handling, and processing documents. Users can open up the placeholders. They can see a thumbnail of the image. They can open it up. They can see it in a viewer, but the capabilities are somewhat limited, and a lot of customers have asked us for more. So we'll show you how our Unity for nCino Advanced Document Viewer meets those challenges when we do the demonstration. And with that said, I'm going to jump into the demo. So here I am in the nCino user interface, and I'm on the home screen. And first thing you'll notice is we have configured a tab called Enterprise Search. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to open up my Enterprise Search screen. And everything you see here, all the search fields, the query fields, the result fields, it's all based on the metadata that the nCino objects. So with the ECM floater, we can configure what we want to pull from nCino and use to index and search on in your ECM. And Unity for nCino allows us to do that mapping. It maps the nCino object properties to your ECM metadata properties. So here I can execute a search. And I know I have a customer called Total Pine. And I'm going to pull back documents from relationships, loan, collateral documents, closing documents. You see here, I did not need to navigate to the loan doc man, the collateral doc man, the relationship doc man. I can do one search and find all documents. And again, the documents returned from the search do not just have to be limited to nCino documents. It could be any document that you're storing in your ECM. And I have direct access from here. So I can select, let's say, this business tax return, and I can say open in the browser. So this is opening in our native browser viewer. We'll show the advanced viewer a little bit later in the demonstration. But even from this viewer, I can see the document. I have thumbnails. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. I can rotate. It has some nice basic features to view the content. Also from here, if the user has access, they can see the details. This is the metadata that we pulled from nCino objects and used to index the content in your ECM. And if the user has access, they can actually modify this as well directly from here. So if I change a property and I hit save, this is going to update the ECM in real time. So it's real two-way integration. And then anyone searching on that property based on the revised value that I entered, they'd be able to pull it up. So now let's talk about seamless access. So I'm going to go to a loan, nCino loan, and I'm going to go to JavaMet. I'm going to open up my Doc Manager. And Doc Manager is going to load, and it's going to show me a list of placeholders. And from here, I can basically select a placeholder, and I can see the image. And if I hit this download file link, nCino knows that this document has been migrated from Salesforce to an ECM. So instead of downloading the file, it's going to call the Unity for nCino integration to retrieve it from the ECM and display it to the document, display it to the user, excuse me. And here's the document displayed. So direct access, even though the content has been migrated, the end user doesn't need to know that the physical binary file doesn't reside in Salesforce. It resides in your ECM. The Unity for nCino integration will go out and find it and display it to the user. So now we're going to show how we combine searching with specific nCino user interfaces and objects. I'm going to go here to my relationship screen. I'm going to stay with JavaMan. And I'm going to come to my Doc Manager. and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit this search link. So here I see my placeholders. I have this search link. I'm going to click on search. And you see here that a search user interface has been opened. Now, this is a configured search template specifically for relationships. We can configure search templates for every nCino user interface that has a document for loans, collateral, product package. And what this is doing that's a little bit different from the enterprise search is it's pulling up the search and it's putting in this relationship ID. So it knows it's on the relationship tab. It knows which relationship it's looking at, and it pulls up, filters the search results to only show the user the relevant content for the Java Man coffee relationship. Like, again, it could do the same thing for loans, collaterals, product package, wherever there's a doc man. And what I can do here is I see that I have a document in my ECM that I don't have yet in nCino. This can happen because many organizations have invested in automated document capture and ingestion technology. So sometimes they're pulling in documents into their ECM, but they don't have a really good way to get it into nCino. Instead of making the user swivel chair and leave nCino, search their ECM, find the document, download it, come back to nCino, create the placeholder and upload it. We can do it all directly right here from Unity for nCino. So I can click on my actions. I see I have an add to nCino action. I can select that. Gives me a choice of placeholder categories. I'll select one. I'll select tax ID, and I'll say copy. And this is going to bring the file in from my ECM, upload it to nCino, and create the placeholder. When I say yes, nCino will refresh, and the placeholder will show up in a minute. Here we go. And there's the placeholder, and there's the file we just created. So I didn't need to, basically, I was able to automate a lot of steps, and I was able to leave the user in nCino, focused on nCino. They didn't have to leave the nCino to look for their ECM and get the document and bring it back in here. So this concludes the base demonstration for the Unity for nCino product. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate the advanced document viewer, which is what we consider our near-term roadmap item. We're looking to basically pull it into production sometime in 2023, depending on customer demand. And I'm going to come over here to, going to go to loans. And I'm going to go to a different loan. I'm going to go to my Game of Scones Bakery. I'm going to go to my doc manager. And here you see I have a list of documents. And one of the documents here I have is a commercial security agreement. This is the native nCino document viewer. I can open it up. I can see a thumbnail of the first page of that. And if I click on it, it does open up in a viewer. I can see the document. I can scroll to see the whole thing if I want. There is a page control where I can page down and see next pages. It is a functional, it does function. However, a lot of nCino customers have said, can we improve, enhance this experience somewhat? And we can, and we have with the Unity for nCino Advanced Document Viewer. So let me show you that. So I'm going to come over here. And here you see I have a list of placeholders, and I have two for tax returns. I have one for 2020 and one for 2021. So as you know, in doing commercial banking, we typically ask for multiple years of tax returns and financial statements. And here we have two that we're going to look at. So this is direct tight integration with nCino. So I can select directly from nCino's DocMan these two placeholders, and I can click the Unity for nCino view link. And this is going to open up the Denali viewer and show you a great feature, side-by-side comparison of documents. So on the left side, I have my 2021 document, tax return. On the right side, I have my 2020 tax return document. So users can compare tax returns and side by side. It also has capability to do annotations. So we can highlight sections of the documents. We can add notes, what they call sticky notes to the documents. We can put on stamps to the documents. So if I come in here, click on stamps, I have a whole array of stamps that I can enter. Arrows, so full way to annotate and notate the content. The other thing it has is the ability to do redactions. So let me go into a single document view here. Just going to select one. And here I'm going to go into my redaction mode. And it allows me to redact the document. So I can redact sensitive information that I don't want to share with everyone. And when I'm ready, I can say save. And what this is going to do, it's going to create a burned in version of this of the annotations in a separate document. And we can set security differently. So certain users can only view the redacted version, where other users may be able to view the unredacted version. So we just save this. Okay. So the other thing that we can do is we have a variety of ways to transact and work with this document. For example, on the thumbnail side, we can see not just the first page, but we can see all pages of the document. And we can use this for navigation. So if I want to jump to the third page, I can look at it and say, yes, that looks like the page I want to see. I can click on that thumbnail and it'll take me right to the page. It also has a standard page control. We can page forward and back here. We can obviously enter a number and jump to that page as well. The other feature that I really like is this capability to go into what we call our infinity scroll mode. And here I can just use my mouse wheel and spin it and go through multiple pages. So provides users real easy access to all the different pages of the document. Other capabilities, let's go back into normal. We have obviously zoom in, zoom out, different ways to fit the document, size the document. This magnifier thing is interesting. So you can click on a magnifier and magnify certain sections of the document that you want to see. Of course, it has rotations, inversions, so a functionally rich content viewer. So there's other features and functions that the viewer performs that I'm going to show you next based on challenges that our customers have told us about. So let me close this out. And I'm going to select another document. So I see I have borrower financial statements, and I asked for statements for 2020 and 2021, but it looks like they might have given me one for multiple years. So one of the challenges that a lot of customers have told us about is this happens all the time. We ask for one document, but the customer sends, we ask for multiple documents, but the customer sends us one file and then split out the documents. But we can add functionality directly into the Denali viewer, and we can split it directly from here from nCino. So when I look at this, I can see that I'm going to go my thumbnail mode. I can see that I have a balance sheet for 2021. I have a statement of revenue and expenses for 2021. And then this repeats for 2020. So yep, the customer is giving me one file when I've asked for two different financial statements, but I can split it right from here. What I can do is I can right click on the document, say split, and this set of choice lists are being pulled directly from the nCino placeholder. So if I just come back here for a second, I see placeholders for borrow financial statement 2021 and 2020. I come back to my viewer, that's what shows up in my drop-down list. So I can simply select the placeholder I want it to split it to, enter in the pages I want to split, and say split. And this just created those two separate documents. I can show you right here, do side by side on them. And on the left side, I have my 2021 document. On my right side, I have my 2020 document, and each one has 2 pages. So that's how we accomplish meet the challenge for splitting documents. And then the last challenge we heard a lot about is that we have all these documents as separate placeholders, and that's great for underwriting, reviewing the loan. But very often we want to package everything up into one consolidated file. So we can do that as well through the Denali viewer. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to select all the documents that I have, and I'm going to go view. And it pulls in all the documents, and I can scroll and I can see all the documents that I have. I can right click on the document and say merge all. And this asks me what I want to call this thing. So I'm going to call it my Game of Scones loan packet. Say okay. And created that merge document. So I can come up here and I can see that. See, it has 33 pages. First one's the application. Next one's the pledge agreement, and then so on. All the documents have merged together into one document. So This completes the demonstration for today. We're just going to wrap it up here and talk about some roadmap items, summarize, and then look at some of the questions that we may have. So on the roadmap, document classification. So a lot of customers have basically presented these challenges, telling us it's taking too long to get the content into these individual nCino document placeholders. We try to get our borrowers to do this using the customer portal, but that could be a challenge because they don't want to do this tedious process either. nCino does provide a really nice feature with file staging, and it's helpful. You can drag and drop a whole bunch of documents into file staging, but a trained resource still needs to look at each one of those files, determine what it is, and physically make that manual association of the file to the placeholder. And obviously, the longer it takes to get the content into the placeholders, the longer it takes to decision and close on loans. So roadmap item is to apply document classification technology. Now, this tech has been on the market for years now. We're just applying it to nCino. So on the left side, we have our placeholders. On the right side, we got a bunch of files that our customers sent us. We apply the classification technology to classify these files to the placeholders, and then we automatically bring them over and they get attached. So let's see what this could look like. So we're in nCino here. We see a screen print of DocMan. We have this automated upload feature. We click on it. And on the left side, you see the file staging documents. This doesn't have to be staging. We could pull it from a network directory, email, portal, but here's a list of files. And in the middle, you see the file name has been associated with the placeholder. And the technology, the document classification technology, has told us how confident it is in the match. So it has a high, a medium, a low. The users can still look at these things. Anything that has, for example, a low confidence, they can look at it. They can basically say, is the match correct or is it not correct? But if they do change it, the technology has the capability to learn from what the user is telling it. And then the next time it will come back with a higher level of confidence. The idea is that the end user doesn't need to look at every one of these documents and manually make the association. The classification technology is going to assist in that process. And when the user is ready, they can simply select all, click on the upload link, and all of the files will come into nCino. So end users didn't have to manually do it. Again, it's a roadmap item, but we feel that this will add a lot of value to nCino to enhance the user experience. The next one is document import. So on document import, customers leverage the document import function typically to load up documents for new implementations into nCino doc managers. So if you're implementing nCino for the first time for commercial banking or consumer lending, nCino can assist with basically loading up your existing relationships, your existing loans. And what this capability does, the nCino doc import function, is you can download your content from your ECM to a network directory, and the import function will upload the content into DocMan. So now you have the documents preloaded with your existing loans, your existing relationships, and it's a great function, but it has its challenges. The challenges are, one, it's replicating your documents. So all your documents in your ECM are now also uploaded in Salesforce and nCino, so you're replicating your documents in two places. It's obviously going to increase your cost of storage because you're bulk loading files into Salesforce. It does have a few other limitations in terms of it can only upload content that's 15 meg or smaller, and it doesn't support all the documents. So our roadmap item is to leverage our existing interchange function. This is something Mike talked about earlier. Intellective has been using interchange for years now, and we use it to migrate content from one ECM to another. So if a customer wants to go from a vignette to a FileNet or an open text to an OnBase, the interchange product from Intellective knows how to crawl the source repository, filter properties, map it to the destination, can do transformations, and then write it to the target repository. What we're doing here on our roadmap item is we're simply applying this to nCino. So we're going to pull it over. We can do transformations, like, for example, we can take a doc type in your ECM and map that to nCino placeholder categories and names. And then we're moving the files, but we're not moving the physical files. We're moving the doc IDs, just like the base nCino Unity for nCino product does. So you're not replicating your content in two places. You're not bulk loading a lot of data into Salesforce. you're simply linking your documents. So your ECM remains your single source of truth, and you're simply linking that content to your nCino placeholders. Now, a lot of customers have told us, well, we have ingestion capabilities. Can we use this on an ongoing basis, not just a one-time load basis? And the answer is absolutely yes. And then lastly, stacking order. Stacking order, basically, we've heard users say, we like document, we like the placeholders, but it'd be great if we can show different user roles, the placeholders stacked and ordered differently, okay? nCino does provide some capabilities to filter placeholders based on doc category, but it doesn't currently provide a capability to make this on a role-based and order it. So what this does is, let's say you're a loan underwriter, that's your role. It would group documents by the doc category or grouping, and then would show the placeholders underneath it, and then show the next grouping and so on. But if you were playing a different role, such as like loan servicing, it could group the documents differently and basically stack them the way that each different role wants to see it. So that concludes the roadmap items. On the summary side, summarizing, starting on the left, on the dollar side, we're reducing the time to close loans with increased efficiencies, improving your time to recognize your revenue. We're also eliminating the cost of storing content in Salesforce long-term. On the integration side, we're integrating nCino to major content management systems. We make nCino content available to users outside of nCino. Because we're migrating the content from nCino to your ECM, anyone who has access to your ECM can see that content. And then the advanced document viewer is integrated with nCino, Salesforce directly, and as well as multiple ECMs. On the mapping side, we're giving users that 360-degree view access to content anywhere in Salesforce or other applications. And we're providing nCino users with access to non-nCino content directly from the nCino user interfaces. We're enhancing governance because we're taking the content from Salesforce, which is not a true ECM, and moving it to your ECM, where you can apply records management capabilities. So you can determine how long you need to keep the documents and when you can dispose of the documents. And then we're protecting sensitive information, leveraging the Unity for nCino Advanced Document Viewers redaction capabilities. And finally, we're increasing efficiencies by reducing project risk and timeline. So instead of building all of this integration yourselves and then figuring out, oh, we want to roll out another nCino line of business and building more integration, we're basically taking a productized approach to it. It's all configurable. You can roll out new lines of businesses. You can make changes. You don't have to write new code every time you do that. And that concludes the presentation and the demonstration. So I see we have a number of Q&A questions, so let me get to those. First question is, presuming there is a way to filter this specifically, say SSN. Yeah, so we can definitely filter on any of the properties that you need to filter on. As long as we have the metadata, we can do filtering. How do you ensure that only authorized users see this query? Like, can we set specific profiles in Salesforce? So what we're doing,
Rich.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm just wondering if when he's asking about the SSN, if he's talking about masking that, which we can also do.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so we didn't show this in the demonstration, but we have the ability to mask information that gets returned. So we can mask the data in the return results and then show only users who are authorized the unmasked value of that. So definitely we can do the masking. That's a good point, Mike. Thanks. How do we ensure only authorized users can see the queries? So obviously, from Salesforce point of view, if you can provide security on which accounts different users can see, which loans different users can see. But what we're doing with Unity for nCino is we're using the security of the underlying ECM, so users can only see the content that they're authorized to access in that ECM. And we're using OAuth to basically do it. We work with identity providers like Okta, like Azure, and others, and we work with secret management like CyberArk and others as well. How many customers do you have running Intellective in production with nCino? Where we are working with a number of customers. Right now, I'm not sure how many we have in production. I don't know. I don't have a count for you right now. Have you seen customers implement downstream doc centers processing BAW interested in significant use cases? Yep. So IBM has a product called BAW. We integrate with that, and we can expose that directly in the Salesforce interface. So we can show you your workflows that you're running in other ECMs like FileNet or others, and we can expose that where you can access your cases, your work items, your documents. You can create new cases. So, yep.
So we should add, because I don't think I mentioned it. Our DNA going back to when FileNet was bought by IBM. That's what founded the company. We have a lot of experience with Case Manager, BAW, FileNet. That entire stack. So definitely in our wheelhouse.
Next one, we're asked, do you have licensing option? What licensing options look like? nCino only integration, FileNet, enterprise-wide, user-based installation. Mike, do you want to take that one on the licensing options?
Yeah, so I mean, generally we don't charge additional for multiple repositories or frankly for integrations to multiple line of business, because we're charging based on users. And the thought is that the more people that use it, the more content that they're using, the higher that level would go. If we had to build a custom, connector or integration to a homegrown application, there'd be additional cost, but that might well be professional services. We do entertain enterprise-wide licensing once we get to a certain, user count level, but that's all kind of a custom negotiation.
And installation options, cloud versus on-prem. Yep, we support both cloud and on-prem implementations. If I split the document into multiple documents using Advanced Viewer, what is the process of removing the documents to their respective placeholders? Is there a manual download to desktop and then upload to placeholders? Currently, the way we kind of foresee this working is that if we're splitting documents, we probably will be building this to pull the documents from the staging area and then split it to the placeholders. Can we remove something? Can we update an existing placeholder and remove the document? We definitely can. It'll basically be based on the customer's requirements as we go on. All of this is customizable to the end user's requirements. Are you integrating with Synergy? Synergy is on our roadmap. We have multiple nCino customers who have asked us about Synergy, which is basically Doc Henry's enterprise content management system. We are currently talking with Doc Henry about becoming a partner. So, but building connectors is what we do. We are constantly adding new connectors. So even if you didn't see in the list, it doesn't mean that we can't support it. Typically, it doesn't take us very long to create a new connector. As long as it has an API that we can access, we can build it.
Yeah, so I should, just to clarify, we have had discussions with Jack Henry about Synergy. We've gotten the documentation on the APIs. So we're kind of poised to do that very, very soon. And we have multiple prospects looking for it.
And I have a question here. Does the document merge feature allow you to merge documents from different objects document? Yes, it allows you to merge from anywhere. Again, it doesn't even have to be limited to nCino content. As we said, our search capability has the ability to pull in documents from multiple, from nCino and non-nCino content, so you can create one packet, whatever you need. So just a few more questions I've gotten. Let me close this out. What's the target release date for the Denali viewer? Basically, all roadmap items are prioritized based on our customer requirements. Our expectation is the Denali viewer will be ready in 2023. Exact timing will be based on customer demand.
Should say what you demonstrated today is live and it's integrated. It's just not necessarily production ready and needs to wait for a release cycle.
Another question I've gotten is where are the annotations stored? So it depends. So if the content is being pulled from an ECM, the annotations will be stored in the ECM. If it's being pulled natively from Salesforce, then it'll be stored directly into the content. So if we're using Adobe or Word, that's where the annotations would be.
Another thing I don't think you mentioned, and it is a type of annotation, is redaction. So the Denali viewer can do redaction, and there are some viewers and repositories that don't do redaction. So the question sometimes comes up, okay, if you do redaction, how do you handle security on that in the underlying repository? What we do is actually make two versions of the document. We burn in the redactions into one of them, and then you can set security so only a certain group of people can see the unredacted, and everybody else would see the redacted. So just another capability.
Here's another one. What does a typical implementation look like? This one depends on the customers. So just like nCino services small, medium, and large customers, so does Intellective. Most of the smaller customers use nCino's gold standard configuration sort of out of the box. Larger customers will typically use implementation partners and have more requirements, more customizations that we can perform. So I would say the time frame varies between 3 to 6 months. It could be a little bit less, it could be a little bit more.
Some people also do phased in approach where they're doing different groups if they're rolling out different nCino applications, and or they're connecting different regions with different repositories and stuff like that. So it could be a rolling project that goes on for quite some time, actually.
Yep. My organization has implemented advanced capture into our ECM. How can we leverage to get those documents into nCino? Yep, we can do that using the roadmap item. We talked about the ECM to nCino intelligent content loader via interchange. We need to look at how you're structuring your content in your ECM and figure out what kind of transformations, like how to map, do you have a doc type that we can use to map to an nCino placeholder category and name? So we tend to look at those, and again, it's not just a one-time load for new customers. It could be used on an ongoing basis. And then
I would say, Rich, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much every customer has their own flavor, version, and challenges with capture, whether they're using a web-based portal, or they're having people email things and they have to rip off the attachments and split them. And so, we're kind of going to market with an array of tools to take care of that. And frankly, looking for people who want to drill down on their specific challenges in the capture and ingestion and classification.
And then the last question I have is, do you integrate with CRMs other than Salesforce? Well, first of all, Unity for nCino is based on our Unity for Salesforce platforms written on the Lightning platform. So anything you saw today in terms of searching for content can be applied anywhere from the Salesforce user interface outside of nCino. Outside of that, yes, we integrate with Microsoft Dynamics and Power Apps. But in addition to that, we have a full API and can run headless. So we have one customer who's implementing Unity with a product, it's called FIS Unity Wealth Management. So from their wealth management application, they're querying out via Unity to access content and display it to the end users. So it's definitely, as we said, access content from any source repository and provide that access from any application. I think that covers it. Let's see if I got any more questions that I didn't get to. Oh, how many release cycles do you have annually or in 2023 of different? Release cycles are, they used to have scheduled release cycles, but I think they're moving to a more agile approach. So they're looking to have more releases, based on function. When a function is ready, then we can release it and make it available to the customer. So I don't think we have, try to move away from the fixed release cycles to use a more agile approach.
Also, I keep in mind, it's not pure SaaS, so you're not forced to take a release. It's on each, and we may sunset a particular version after a period of time, but day one, it doesn't just show up and update your system.
And that kind of wraps it up for the questions. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining today. Appreciate your time. And Mike, do you want to close it out?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for your time. We're pretty excited about some of these capabilities. And again, what we've been adding to the experience of nCino is based on what we are hearing from, clients that we're talking to. And frankly, we have gone and visited and worked with nCino specifically because frankly, we don't want to, duplicate what they're working on. So we tend to focus on things that aren't really on their roadmap for, some time, if any. And collaborate with them on that. So hopefully these are some issues. I'm pretty certain these are issues that you all deal with, and how you're solving them. You may be solving them in different ways, but we'd love to open up the conversation, and we will certainly follow up with all of you after the webinar. Hope everybody has great holidays, and take care. I think that's it.